Joseph resists temptation by Louis Ginzberg. Seeing that she could not attain her object by entreaties or tears, Zuleika finally used force when she judged that the favorable chance had come. She did not have long to wait. When the Nile overflowed its banks, and according to the annual custom of the Egyptians, all repaired to the river, men and women, people and princes, accompanied by music, Zuleika remained at home under pretense of being sick. This was her long-looked-for opportunity, she thought. She rose up and ascended to the hall of state, and arrayed herself in princely garments. She placed precious stones upon her head, onyx stones set in silver and gold. She beautified her face and her body with all sorts of things for the purifying of women. She perfumed the hall and the whole house with cassia and frankincense, spread myrrh and aloes all over, and afterward sat herself down at the entrance to the hall, in the vestibule leading to the house, through which Joseph had to pass to his work. And behold, Joseph came from the field, and he was on the point of entering the house to do his master's work. But when he reached the place where Zuleika sat and saw all she had done, he turned back. His mistress, perceiving it, called out to him, "What aileth thee, Joseph? Go to thy work, I will make room for thee, that thou mayest pass by to thy seat." Joseph did as she bade him. He entered the house, took his seat, and set about his master's work as usual. Then Zuleika stood before him suddenly in all her beauty of person and magnificence of raiment, and repeated the desire of her heart. It was the first and the last time that Joseph's steadfastness deserted him, but only for an instant. When he was on the point of complying with the wish of his mistress, the image of his mother Rachel appeared before him, and that of his aunt Leah, and the image of his father Jacob. The last addressed him thus: "In time to come the names of thy brethren will be graven upon the breastplate of the high priest. Dost thou desire to have thy name appear with theirs? Or wilt thou forfeit this honor through sinful conduct? For no, he that keepeth company with harlots wasteth his substance." This vision of the dead, and especially the image of his father, brought Joseph to his senses, and his illicit passion departed from him one to one. Astonished at the swift change in his countenance, Zuleika said, "My friend and true love, why art thou so affrighted that thou art near to swooning?" "Joseph, I see my father." "Zuleika, where is he? Why, there is none in the house." "Joseph, thou belongest to a people that is like unto the ass, it perceiveth nothing, but I belong to those who can see things." Joseph fled forth, away from the house of his mistress 122, the same house in which aforetime wonders had been done for Sarah, kept a captive there by Pharaoh. 123, but hardly was he outside when the sinful passion again overwhelmed him, and he returned to Zuleika's chamber. Then the Lord appeared unto him, holding the ebon Shedia 124 in his hand, and said to him, "If thou touchest her, I will cast away this stone upon which the earth is founded, and the world will fall to ruin." Sobered again, Joseph started to escape from his mistress 125, but Zuleika caught him by his garment, and she said, "As the king liveth, if thou wilt not fulfill my wish, thou must die." And while she spoke thus, she drew a sword with her free hand from under her dress, and pressing it against Joseph's throat, she said, "Do as I bid thee, or thou deest." Joseph ran out, leaving a piece of his garment in the hands of Zuleika, as he wrenched himself loose from the grasp of the woman with a quick, energetic motion 126. Zuleika's passion for Joseph was so violent that, in lieu of its owner, whom she could not succeed in subduing to her will, she kissed and caressed the fragment of cloth left in her hand. At the same time, she was not slow to perceive the danger into which she had put herself, for she feared Joseph might possibly betray her conduct, and she considered ways and means of obviating the consequences of her folly 128. Meanwhile, her friends returned from the Nile festival, and they came to visit her and inquire after her health. They found her looking wretchedly ill, on account of the excitement she had passed through and the anxiety she was in. She confessed to the women what had happened with Joseph, and they advised her to accuse him of immorality before her husband, and then he would be thrown into prison. Zuleika accepted their advice, and she begged her visitors to support her charges by also lodging complaints against Joseph, that he had been annoying them with improper proposals 129. But Zuleika did not depend entirely upon the assistance of her friends. She planned a ruse, besides, to be sure of convincing her husband of Joseph's guilt. She laid aside her rich robes of state, put on her ordinary clothes, and took to her sick bed, in which she had been lying when the people left to go to the festival. Also, she took Joseph's torn garment and laid it out next to her. Then she sent a little boy to summon some of the men of her house, and to them she told the tale of Joseph's alleged outrage, saying, "See the Hebrew slave, whom your master hath brought in unto my house, and who attempted to do violence to me today. You had scarcely gone away to the festival when we entered the house, and making sure that no one was here, he tried to force me to yield to his lustful desire. But I grasped his clothes, tore them, and cried with a loud voice. When he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, he was seized with fear, and fled, and got him out, but he left his garment by me. The men of her house spake not a word, but, in a rage against Joseph, they went to their master, and reported to him what had come to pass. In the meantime, the husbands of Zuleika's friends had also spoken to Potiphar, at the instigation of their wives, and complained of his slave, that he molested them 131. Potiphar hastened home, and he found his wife in low spirits. And though the cause of her dejection was chagrin at not having succeeded in winning Joseph's love, she pretended that it was anger at the immoral conduct of the slave. She accused him in the following words: O husband, mayest thou not live a day longer, if thou dost not punish the wicked slave that hath desired to defile thy bed, that hath not kept in mind who he was when he came to our house, to demean himself with modesty, nor hath he been mindful of the favors he hath received from thy bounty. He did lay a privy design to abuse thy wife, and this at the time of observing a festival, when thou wouldst be absent. These words she spoke at the moment of conjugal intimacy with Potiphar, when she was certain of exerting an influence upon her husband 133. Potiphar gave credence to her words, and he had Joseph flogged unmercifully. While the cruel blows fell upon him, he cried to God, O Lord, thou knowest that I am innocent of these things, and why should I die today on account of a false accusation by the hands of these uncircumcised, impious men? God opened the mouth of Zuleika's child, a babe of but 11 months, and he spoke to the men that were beating Joseph, saying, What is your quarrel with this man? Why do you inflict such evil upon him? Lies my mother doth speak, and deceit is what her mouth uttereth. This is the true tale of that which did happen. And the child proceeded to tell all that had passed, how Zuleika had tried first to persuade Joseph to act wickedly, and then had tried to force him to do her will. The people listened in great amazement. But the report finished, the child spake no word as before. Abashed by the speech of his own infant son, Potiphar commanded his bailiffs to leave off from chastising Joseph, and the matter was brought into court, where priests sat as judges. Joseph protested his innocence, and related all that had happened according to the truth, but Potiphar repeated the account his wife had given him. The judges ordered the garment of Joseph to be brought which Zuleika had in her possession, and they examined the tear therein. It turned out to be on the front part of the mantle, and they came to the conclusion that Zuleika had tried to hold him fast, and had been foiled in her attempt by Joseph, against whom she was now lodging a trumped-up charge. They decided that Joseph had not incurred the death penalty, but they condemned him to incarceration, because he was the cause of a stain upon Zuleika's fair name. Potiphar himself was convinced of Joseph's innocence, and when he cast him into prison, he said to him, I know that thou art not guilty of so vile a crime, but I must put thee in durance, lest a taint cling to my children.